There's a huge wave right now of these products being marketed and sold as legal psychedelics. You see them in gas stations, you see them in your head shops, you see them online in ads. They're often coming in these fancy kind of gummy or chocolate forms, and they promise these like special trippy and psychedelic effects without any of the risk or illegality. But the truth about these things is that most of these are counterfeit products. This is a very lucrative industry that has taken over the United States. And most of these products, A, don't work, B, they don't feel good, or C, they're legitimately unsafe. And the few quote-unquote legal psychedelics that do work out there, a lot of them are actually getting lumped into the same category and getting a bit bastardized by this counterfeit industry, because people assume that they're like the rest of them. So in this video, I want to break all of this down and talk about what actually is a quote-unquote legal psychedelic, why has this counterfeit industry taken over the market, and then also I'm going to talk to you about which of these plants and fungi and compounds are real, legitimate, safe, legal psychedelics and which ones aren't. Before we go any further though, I want to clear up some of this sort of language, because I do believe that this is where some of the confusion lies, is around this word psychedelic, and it's thrown around a lot. And a lot of times I think that people use the word psychedelic to describe something they're actually trying to call psychoactive. So we're going to break this down into, for the sake of this video, 3 different categories. These aren't perfect definitions, but they're pretty good at the same time. The more broader reaching category word here, psychoactive, that encompasses essentially any of these compounds that changes your mood, your perception, time, things like that. So caffeine is psychoactive. Alcohol is psychoactive, but caffeine and alcohol aren't psychedelic. So hallucinogen is a more broader sort of functional category of substances that more significantly affect your sort of mood and perception. It does include psychedelics, right? Those are hallucinogens, but not all hallucinogens are psychedelics, because there's also things like dissociatives and deliriants as well too that can be considered hallucinogens. And not all of these hallucinogenic experiences feel the same, right? Neither necessarily do psychedelic experiences, but they feel more similar. With hallucinogens, some experiences can be insightful and beautiful and enlightening, and then some experiences can be scary and confusing, deliriating, and just actually qualitatively feel a lot different than another hallucinogen. Psychedelics are a specific subset of hallucinogens that, once again, do alter mood, perception, time, all those sorts of things. They do it in this very particular way via our serotonin receptors. In particular, a lot of attention and activity by these molecules is centered around the 5-HT2A serotonin receptor, but they interact with a lot of different serotonin receptors. But when we're talking about psychedelics and classical psychedelics, this serotonin 5-HT2A affinity seems to be one of the ways in which we typically push something into the psychedelic category. All that being said, not all psychedelics do operate via this 5-HT2A receptor. And a lot of times that's what this marketing by the counterfeit industry is pointing to, is serotonergic psychedelics in particular. But once again, as we've just talked about, there's this much broader category of psychoactives and hallucinogens around it. And sometimes the substances that they are putting in these quote-unquote legal psychedelics are actually psychedelics in the way that they're like a research chemical tryptamines that do have an affinity for your 5-HT2A serotonin receptor and do produce effects that are very similar to other serotonergic psychedelics. There is lots of products like that, but there's lots of products that don't contain psychedelics at all that are marketed as a legal psychedelic. Maybe they contain some other form of hallucinogen. Maybe sometimes it's just psychoactive. A lot of times it's nothing at all. And if this wasn't already hard enough for the modern man to sort through, right, there is this larger, more complex problem being presented to us of the counterfeit market. Most of these substances are marketed as legal psychedelics. A lot of it's like mushroom gummies, but you think to like your local 7-Eleven that has trippy mushroom gummy 20 count for sale, and you look on the bag at the ingredients, it's not very clear. It's usually like proprietary mushroom extract blend or nootropic blend, or a lot of times it's even marketed as Amanita, when most of the time that's almost never what these things are, is real Amanita muscaria. What most of these counterfeit products are nowadays is either sketchy synthetic research chemicals. A lot of times they're benzodiazepines, synthetic cannabinoids as well too. And so with these things coming together, it's understandable to see why a lot of people out there nowadays just kind of get this notion about legal, quote unquote, psychedelics or psychoactives out there in the market as being unsafe or just illegitimate. And honestly, like, that skepticism has been completely earned. Like, I get it, but at the same time, there's real legitimate psychoactive substances out there that are legal and are available to you and are efficacious at the same time. And so I kind of want to talk about some of those and some of the ones that I personally use myself. So the first one I want to talk about is a mushroom called Amanita muscaria. You've probably seen it before. It's a little red top mushroom with white dots. It's the Mario mushroom, the Alice in Wonderland mushroom. It's the Santa Claus mushroom. It's probably the most famous mushroom in history, yet it's highly misunderstood. There's this notion around it that it's just either doesn't work or it's toxic or poisonous, but that's really oversimplification and misrepresentation of what this mushroom actually is. At lower doses, Amanita gives you this very lucid functional flow state. It has this anxiolytic effect that you still remain cognitively sharp for. And at the medium to higher doses, it can become more jolly, euphoric. There's this buzz associated with it. A lot of times it's good for connection with people and partners, and a lot of times it's used as like an alcohol alternative because there is this real euphoria with it. It also tends to give people really insanely deep sleep and vivid dreams, which I can attest to. And so it's kind of like this way in which people can subconsciously work on themselves or have these psychedelic experiences. And so it's not a traditional psychedelic, and by the word, in the way that it doesn't act via the 5-HT2A serotonin receptor. It's acting primarily more so through GABA, or kind of like inhibitory pathway within the body, but it does offer people, when used correctly, this matrix of insight and perspective and relief and deep sleep and vivid dreams and subconscious work. Amanita is definitely a legal psychedelic, but it's more so actually a legal psychoactive out there that a lot of people can and do benefit from. But once again, because of the sort of misinformation campaigns and the counterfeit market, a lot of people truly just pass it off. But it's one of the most beautiful medicines that I have in my tool bag. And it's awesome because it's 100% legal in every state except for the state of Louisiana. Another really popular yet so heavily discarded psychoactive out there on the market is Blue Lotus. And I am convinced that the issue with Blue Lotus is both the counterfeit market and people haven't been taking it correctly. So similar to Amanita, there's a lot of Blue Lotus products that are either like fake lotuses dyed to look like psychoactive Blue Lotus that aren't actually real psychoactive lotuses at all, or sometimes like consumer ready-made Blue Lotus products also contain these sketchy chemicals and synthetic cannabinoids and things like that. But when people take real Lotus at the right dose and the right amount, it pretty reliably produces these euphoric, relaxing, dreamy, aphrodisiac, and pathogenic-like effects for people, and it's felt. A lot of times with Lotus, it is mild, but it's also not mild at the same time. Like, you definitely feel it when you take the right amount. And a lot of people, I think, have discarded Blue Lotus because they've either bought like some sketchy product that made them go to outer space that was synthetic cannabinoids, or they bought some underdose product where they didn't take enough of it to actually feel it and just kind of consider Blue Lotus to be somewhat of a gimmick, which is unfortunate because it's so incredibly beautiful. It has this very like dreamy zen feeling to it. And what I said earlier about the empathogenic quality, that is a big aspect to the Blue Lotus experience as well too. Sounds weird, but it has this like heart-opening, lovey-dovey effect, especially if you take it with like a friend or a partner. It's known to be an aphrodisiac. It's good to take before sexy time. So Blue Lotus is awesome, but once again, it's not necessarily a traditional serotonergic psychedelic. It's more of a legal psychoactive that is available out there. It's never really going to make you hallucinate and trip in the same way that other compounds do, but it does provide a altered reality that is very enjoyable at times, and it also seems to be a really potent synergistic tool with other things. So like taking Blue Lotus with serotonergic psychedelics seems to bring this lovey-dovey and pathogenic nature to that. Taking it with cannabis seems to bring the lovey-dovey nature into the cannabis experience. So Blue Lotus is one of the real ones out there. When you buy the correct kind and take the right amount, it does actually work and it can provide you with real benefits. So if you'd like to learn more about Blue Lotus, yeah, go check out our website. And then Kanna. Kanna is the last one I want to talk to you about today. Kanna is getting a lot of attention here within the West over the past few years, and rightfully so. It's massively efficacious. It is a lot of people refer to it as like nature's MDMA or nature's antidepressant. It is what's known as a natural SRI, which is somewhat similar but different than your pharmaceutical SSRIs. Pharmaceutical SSRIs are more selective of serotonin. This usually leads to like downregulation of serotonin over time and bad side effects like suicidality and low libido and depression and lots of things. Not that everyone on pharmaceutical SSRI experiences that, but lots of people do. Whereas with these natural SRIs, it's less selective of serotonin. It has more of an effect at things like dopamine and norepinephrine, and it seems to have more of this holistic serotonergic uplifting mood boost to it without all of the downsides that come with like the pharmaceutical SSRIs. Kanna's great. It really is truly like this mood boost. You feel it when it comes to Kanna, and this isn't a perfect analogy, but I've told people that it's almost like you took a psilocybin psychedelic mushrooms without tripping, because there's just like the energetic uptick, the smile on your face, the mood lift, but you're not in this massively altered perception space. And so once again, not necessarily a legal psychedelic, but it is a legal psychoactive that's very interesting. So if you found this video useful, give it a like, subscribe, all of that. I hope that you're able to put this information in your pocket and utilize it. This space is kind of hard to navigate sometimes, but if you'd like to learn more about any of these medicines, go check out our website, www.amentara.com. That's AMENTARA.com. Peace out. Much love.